Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to another Animalkind book talk. There's a good reason for this background that will become clear in a second. In Animalkind, you're going to find lots of things about dogs, about elephants, cats, horses, birds, but today I'm going to talk to you about an animal that most of us have only a nodding acquaintance with. Here's a clue. This is the Hindu goddess Kali, who is believed by her followers to protect innocent beings from evil. She's always depicted with a lot of arms, something that Peter's staff could certainly have found helpful when we go out on these flood rescues. Sometimes Kali has 4 arms, sometimes she's shown with 10 or even 18 arms, which is a bit much. Today, I'm going to talk about some real-life multi-armed or multi-legged animals who are every bit as exotic as Kali, starting with these fascinating fellows, crabs. But first, starting on June the 21st, let's wish happy birthday to everyone born under the astrological sign of the crab, Cancer. The word Cancer is from Latin, and it's also from karkanos, which is the Greek word for crab used in the legend of Hercules, who crushed a crab under his heel. Nasty man. Cancers are rumored to be good kissers, to have a soft heart and a hard shell. And speaking of hard shells, here's a fact. Ocean acidification, caused by human use of fossil fuels, is actually softening crabs' shells. Now, in case you're wondering why crabs, here's why. They're individuals with feelings, absolutely capable in their own environments. Well, if you go onto the internet today and you type in crab, 99% of what you'll see is crab recipes and people teasing crabs, putting the crab on the kitchen floor so that the dog can jump at them, and the people just filming and giggling while these no doubt scared little crab people do the only thing they can do, which is put up a claw to try to defend themselves. Humans have always mocked those they find a little different, including little people, people from other countries, elderly people on a cane. Well, crabs may look different from us. They may be small, but that's no reason to harm them and to mock them. It's time to look at crabs with fresh eyes. I do have a personal regret. You see this innocent-looking little girl? That's me. When I was about 4, I spent hours trying to catch a crab off a pier in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I succeeded. I took him back to our old hotel, and somehow, in the night, with what must have been tremendous effort, he escaped the bucket and he vanished, probably into the wall. I still think of how awful it must have been for him to die slowly back there. So while I can never make up for that, perhaps I can engender some respect for crabs before someone else does something horrid to one. Summer is a gorgeous time to walk along the beach in Norfolk. I'm an active member of Peter's trash fishing battalion, as I'm always stopping to pick up fish hooks like these and other trash. Here's a little video. We've been trash fishing. They're really fishing back there, and they leave, these slob fishermen, lots of filament. It's nylon. Birds get their feet caught in it. They dangle upside down, they die, and other animals get caught in it too. So I recommend trash fishing, picking this junk up and disposing of it properly. Peter's Ivy Yoon's dog, Dakota, actually ate a fish hook that no one had picked up. And here it is after being surgically removed from Dakota's stomach. So always pick up trash. In Virginia, it's illegal to interfere with a lobster or a crab trap, and we found that out when a dog swam out and dragged one, floats and all, back to Peter's dock. Bless his heart, we didn't report him to the police. But crab traps do wash up on the beach, and these and other ghost crab traps doom not only crabs, but turtles too. I also find that jumping up and down on crab traps is terrific aerobic exercise, and you can easily crush them beyond repair. It's quite fun. Summer means the crabs come out of their holes in the sand, and they rebuild. In winter, many have survived by burying themselves up to 4 feet down underground. But out they come in warm weather, and you can spot the entrances to their homes all over most beaches. Crabs are decapods with 10 appendages, some of which they use to do the side hustle. 4 pairs of those appendages are legs, so they move pretty quickly. And crabs must have watched forensic files because they know that humans can be dangerous forms of life, as are dogs. And as soon as they spot any of us coming, which they can do from an impressive 60 feet away, they race back down into their burrows about as fast as Usain Bolt, and you can see their tracks. Crabs also take in a 360-degree panoramic view without moving. We could do that too if our eyes were like theirs on movable stalks that are made up of ommatidia. The crab's incredible brain combines all those images from all those ommatidia to create a picture of the world around them. And like the ancient Egyptians, crabs also track the movements of the sun. I do not know why, but there must be a reason. Few people think anything of harassing or eating these clever little people. Another confession, I used to pop into some beach joint or the other and order a big bowl of female Chesapeake Bay crabs. Females are said to be sweeter tasting than the males. This one is looking right out at us from that bushel basket. In less aware times, I would crack open her carapace and I would suck the flesh out of her claws. Me, a woman's rights activist. Now, if I go into a restaurant like that and I ask, "Do you have crab cakes?" and they say, "Yes, we do," I say, "Great, because it's his birthday today." Actually, I always do ask if they serve faux crab or faux fish, and I've been known to take them some of those crispy mini crabless cakes from Gardein, or the Gardein faux fish fillets, or as we say in England, fillets. Like humans, crabs come in all sizes. Japanese spider crabs, Takahashi gani, weigh as much as an overweight beagle, up to about 40 pounds, with an extraordinary leg span of 12 feet, even longer than an albatross's wingspan. Then there are horseshoe crabs, also called limulus or limuli. And while it's an absolute myth that royal blood is blue, unluckily for the horseshoe crabs, their blood really is blue. And hundreds of thousands of them have their blood taken every year for use in vaccine tests. Peter is out to stop this because there are animal-free alternatives, and we will stop it. Horseshoe crabs are not considered true crabs by taxonomists. Neither are hermit crabs or king crabs because they don't have hard shells. The crabs, not the taxonomists. And crab lice aren't considered true crabs, nor are grumpy people like Lucy. Also not crabs, and not fish either, are starfish, properly called sea stars. Most have 5 arms, but they can be decapods too. And like all forms of beings, they're complex, wonderful individuals. They have eyes, not perhaps where you'd look for them, but on the end of each arm. This means that a 10-armed sea star has 10 eyes too. Other actual octopeds include praying mantises, spiders, ticks, and tardigrades, who it's said are going to be here long after humanity has played taps. But let me quickly touch on one slightly less armed or less legged or less tentacled person, the octopus. Maybe you remember that old song, 8 Arms to Hold You, which actually was about the Beatles. Get it? Well, it doesn't take 4 octopuses to hold you, just the one, as some divers have found to their absolute delight. In some restaurants, octopuses are eaten alive, and they actually cling to the diners' faces. Peter is pushing for an end to that atrocity with billboards like these, and we've succeeded in getting a large popular restaurant in New York to stop live octopus eating. More to come. Octopuses are extremely clever. Each of their 8 arms has a mini brain that allows it to act independently. And they have a central brain, so that makes 9 brains per octopus. You may remember Inky. He was an octopus held prisoner in a New Zealand aquarium. He kept a vigilant eye out for the day when someone cleaning his tank would forget to put the lid back on. And that day came, and Inky did the octopus equivalent of run, don't walk across the floor, and bang, down the drain he went. Octopuses can squeeze themselves through holes only the size of their beak. Inky must have been able to smell freedom, and so he made his escape, maneuvering through 164 feet of pipe that empties into the Pacific Ocean. Take that, aquarium. Of course, if we had the 3 hearts an octopus has, we would never capture them, let alone eat them. We just need one functioning heart to allow us to be kind to animals in all their various forms. But back to crabs. There's an orangutan crab, who definitely looks like a little tiny orangutan. There's also the candy crab, catch that. And there's the pom-pom crab, who is called that because she holds sea anemones in her claws, and that makes it look as if she's carrying pom-poms. And a new discovery from Guam, the Harryplax Severus crab, whose name comes from Harry Potter's notorious teacher who worked for Professor Dumbledore, Severus Snape. The huge Japanese spider crab I mentioned earlier was featured in old sea stories, reaching up and grabbing sailors off the ship's deck, and apparently women in bikinis. But in real life, they're actually called the vultures of the ocean because they only eat what is already dead. And they're also called decorator crabs because, like that other octoped, the octopod, the octopus, they love to collect things to decorate their homes. They are also camouflage artists who collect sponges and attach them to their shells, hoping to blend into the background while they sleep during the day. The Chilean spider crab doesn't hide to sleep, but to avoid predators, and they camouflage their carapace with seaweed. Some of the crabs are red, and they choose red algae. Some are green, they choose green algae, and the pigments in the seaweed that they eat actually end up determining the color of the crabs. Pea crabs are the size of, yes, a pea. Just like cuckoos who don't make their own nests, but lay their eggs in other birds' nests, so pea crabs live inside other animals' shells, the shells of oysters and clams and sea urchins, and they sustain themselves by swiping food that passes in through the shellfish's gills. See that little one in there? The males don't do that. They swim freely, and they only sneak into a shell to mate. These aquatic crabs, and there are crabs who spend their entire lives on land, attract each other using pheromones. something humans did before the invention of aftershave. They can get into fights over women too, as do ghost crabs who make scary growling sounds to ward off other males. Crabs are gentler. To attract females, male fiddler crabs wave an impressively large claw at them, the way a man might show off his Jaguar car. Dating rituals can be so odd. Crabs will also raise their largest claw to warn an attacker to stay back. Last year, I came across a man harassing a crab. He was kicking at this 3-inch tall fellow who had his big claw raised and was trying so valiantly to defend himself, about 5.5 feet below this towering bully. I did try to reason with the man, and unfortunately we ended up getting into a row, but the crab discreetly used that distraction to get back to the safety of his home. Crabs don't only fight. They often work together to gather food for their families, for mutual protection, and to protect females as they release their eggs. And the eggs drift away to sea, timed with the tides, the babies returning to land only after they hatch. Look at this swarm of Christmas Island crab babies returning from the sea. Good grief! Young crabs mature in stages, shedding their shells as they grow. And you may have seen video of how hermit crabs actually line up according to size, this is true, to swap shells when they grow too large for the one they're in. Watch this video. It's like a thrift shop for shells.
The gathering crabs begin to measure each other up, and then they do something really rather extraordinary. They arrange themselves into an orderly queue. The biggest at the front, smallest at the back. They're lining up with one aim: to exchange properties.
Aristophanes said, "You can never make a crab walk straight." And there's also the joke that if you see a crab walking straight, he's probably drunk. Well, the Malaysian soldier crab does walk forward the way lobsters and crayfish do. At low tide, they come out of their burrows, they flip onto their backs just as dogs do on the beach, rolling about, then shaking off the sand. Then they right themselves and they march across the beach, sometimes in huge armies, all looking for food. Oh, and while a group of seals is called a romp and a gathering of squid is called an audience, how boring that a collection of crabs is called a consortium. Oh well. Crabs eat lots of things, and quite delicately, just like this. But in the Indian Ocean, on the islands of the Chagos archipelago, coconut crabs, who can grow to be over 3 feet long, eat coconuts. They also climb trees, and unfortunately they rob eggs from birds' nests. Of course, all crabs have to avoid becoming dinner themselves, and we humans are their biggest threat. But remember, there are always Gardein mini crab cakes in the freezer case at most supermarkets. Thank you for listening. And thank you, too, for opening other people's minds and hearts, and for creating a kinder world, and for buying copies of Animalkind for yourself and your friends.